Hi, everyone. Thanks for your time and attention. Sorry about the late start. I appreciate you guys coming out. And so the class is about digital recruitment. By way of that, if we can go to the first page, I moved to North Shield from the Mid-Realm in 2019, where I had lived prior to that for about 12 years. And during that 12 years when I was downstate in lower state Michigan, I had the really good fortune to be at like a really good practice location. And I just made a lot of like really meaningful relationships and learned a lot from a lot of people. And I knew that that was going to be a really important part of my life. And the only reason I moved was, a really nice piece of property basically came up that I knew I always wanted to move back to the UP where I live now, but I knew I was going to have to leave behind a lot of like core activities and things that I was really, really passionate about. And so that was a big concern to me. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. And so this is a picture. We'll get to the importance of pictures later, but this is a picture from that practice downstate in Detroit. That's Duke Branos and Rongwalder and Sir Midair and Count Louis and a bunch of other people. And so I basically knew that this was going to be important to me, and it's something that I was really going to want to get ahead of. And so what I did is once I knew I was moving, I had one friend up here that is actually the gentleman that got me into the SCA, Otar, and he's my last name, so my full name is Hjorleif Ottarsson. It's kind of as an homage to him. But he was still up here, and he hadn't really been active in the SCA for a long time. But I was like, all right, man, look, what can we do to find a location? And he found one. And we rented it out for a year in advance, and we didn't even know that it was going to be there. And I just said, look, man, what I really need you to do for me is just commit to me that if it's just me and you, we're going to have this practice, we're going to make it work, and we're going to make it happen. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll come to practice. And so we got the space. And then I was like, what am I going to do to get these people to show up? So if we can go to the next slide. Right around that time, it was 2019, and there was all kinds of stuff about like the election, like Russian micro-targeting and all kinds of ridiculous, stuff. But I was like, man, the social media seems like it's such a powerful tool. And so what I did, and the purpose of this class really to discuss is I made a fake business on Facebook, because you can't buy ads unless you create a business. But I created a page called Sforza, which is just simply Oathman, which is the name of my SCA war band for fighting. And I used that space to kind of play around and figure out what ads I could buy. And so, I basically drafted an ad, which was free practice. And, the copy of that, I think, is out there. So I think it's in my handout that's in the chat. But it basically just said, hey, Rattan Combat is a fast-paced, full-contact sport under the umbrella of the Society for Creative Anachronism. This is a free practice. You will need to sign a waiver. Please come out on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock at, the Finlandia Center located at XYZ address. And then what I did, we can just go to the next slide. You're allowed to target that ad. And that is really difficult to overstate the value of that. I basically, anyone can do this, but you're allowed to go into the platform, and anything that anybody has ever expressed interest in, you are allowed to target that. And so my ads, I basically thought to myself, okay, I'm trying to establish this practice. Who's my demographic? Okay, well, my demographic is probably going to be people who are up to 75 miles away from the practice location, and you can set that as a parameter. And then I was like, I want to target people who have expressed an interest in martial arts, people who said they like judo, people who said they like karate, people who said they like Krav Maga, people who said they liked Lord of the Rings, people who said they liked Vikings history show, people who said they liked Harry Potter, people who said they like, all kinds of stuff. And it's literally infinite. You can put in as many targeted keyword demographics as you want to, and then the ad will cross and only display to those people. And what I found actually is the more specific you made it, the less people saw the ad, but that also caused the spend to be a lot less. I always tell people that the crazy thing about this is I put together like this really targeted ad, and I ran it for 3 weeks prior to practice. I started running it before I'd even moved. I got up here in like the second week of July, and we had practice on the third week of July. But I started running it, and I only spent, I think my total spend, I set the campaign up to only spend $40. And I think I got refunded like $7.30 because they couldn't find enough people that met my demographics to show the ad to. But long story short, we had that first practice, and it was me and Toby and 7 other people I've never met in my life. And of those 7 new people that showed up to that practice, 5 of them are still in the group. And it was amazing. Just because, it was amazing for me personally, because I really wanted to try and replicate a powerful experience I'd had somewhere else. And I wanted the opportunity to kind of build that culture and see if I could do it. And I just wanted to meet new friends because I moved to a new area, and it was important to me. And, to further explain it, I guess, where I moved is in the Kingdom of North Shield, but I'm 5 hours away from like the Kingdom core. There had been a group up here many years ago, but it had mostly gone defunct, and there hadn't been a practice in this area for like over 15 years. And so to just show up and then have, 7 new people there plus Toby, we had a 9-person practice on day 1, mostly out of people who didn't know each other. And I had like prepared for this, like I'd been building loaner armor for a long time and stuff. And so I had equipment to put everybody in, and that's definitely part of it. And that's part of the retention. But if we can go to the next slide, the point I want to get at is I'm pretty sure you can use this model for anything. Sorry, you can go back to the retention one. I think it's like 3 back. You can I think we went forward. We want to go back back to slide 4, I think. Oh, 5. Yep, there we are. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I wanted to share this model because I think you can use it for anything. I mean, I obviously used it for building a fighting practice, but I think you could use it for building like a fiber arts group, or you could use it for building like a casting workshop, or you could build it for building an artist enclave, or you could just use it for generic recruitment. I think, and we kind of saw the end, but my thesis on this is that what we do as a group and as a society is incredible. And I think sometimes we become blind to that because we're so used to it. We have all these creative friends and all these creative people that we surround ourselves with. And we forget that not everybody is like that. And not everybody has, those relationships and those impacts in their lives. And so I think a lot of it is just the ability to broadcast to the people that need to know about us that we exist. Because all the people that first answered my ad, they came out, none of them had been in the SCA before. None of them had even heard of the SCA, but they were into Lord of the Rings, and they were into Harry Potter, and they were into like martial arts, and they were into a lot of those things. And so they quickly discovered that they were a customer for exactly what we were selling. And I don't want to ixnay like the classic, like go to do a demo somewhere. But, the issue I've always had with those is you go and you put all this work into something, and, maybe 500 people to 1,000 people stroll by, but you only get 2 or 3 people who really look at you and really consider it. Whereas this, for what's basically a very small sum of money, you can micro target out to the people who are probably going to be customers for what we are providing and what we offer. And you can get in front of all of them, and you can do it over a period of weeks for very, very little money. And I just think it's a good use of resources, and it was an extremely effective use of time. And it's something I plan to kind of wheel out again and do again, but I just haven't been able to, because with those 7 people, the 5 that stayed plus Toby, our organic growth has been such that, we've got 15 authorized fighters now up here. If everybody showed up at once, we'd have 25 people in armor. I mean, we have a lot of people, and I haven't had to run it again because I'm gear limited now. But if I needed to, if I ever thought we were at a point where I was like, man, we need some more membership, I would just run it again. because there's been a lot of people that have moved up to our area over the course of the pandemic and stuff that probably don't know about us again. I'm just kind of bandwidth limited on how much of an experience I can facilitate for what number of people. But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to kind of finish that part up. On the retention side of it, okay, so you get those people here, and that's wonderful, and that digital recruitment was really easy, and it worked. Now what are you going to do to keep them? And this is lessons I've learned from a lot of people, but I really want to call out His Grace Branos. You got to build a community. And what I mean by that is people who aren't just in something for a shared activity, but people who actually care about each other as people. And that was something that was modeled to me by His Grace in that practice that I was able to attend and, make all those great friends who I love and miss dearly. But I was able to kind of build that culture up here. And so there's a couple. First of all, I think you just want to kind of go into it with the idea that I'm trying to build a community. I'm not trying to build a practice. But outside of that, there's a couple tricks you can do that I found successful. Some that we, just kind of stumbled across. The first is you should have a social media page that can promote digital community building. And so I set up, as you can see the picture here, the Hancock-Houghton Regional Rattan Armored Combat. I made it really easy to find for like regular people because, if someone just puts in Hancock Combat, that's probably going to pull this group. And so that way first of all, it's publicly searchable so people can find it. Second, I constantly post like an agenda. So, and that's part of like the retention too, is when you're onboarding a bunch of new people, you need to facilitate an experience for them to be able to integrate into the community. It's difficult, I think, to acclimate to our society and our culture because there are so many people who are so advanced. And so you need, at least in my belief, I think it's paramount to provide a structure whereby people are able to really engage, and generally that experience needs to be facilitated. And so to that end, on the practice side, I run like a really structured practice. I tell people exactly what we're going to work on. I put out an agenda, at 8:00, we're going to show up. At 8:15, we're going to get our armor on. At 8:30, we're going to do limited pickups. At 8:45, we're going to take a short break. At 9:00, we're going to have our first lesson, which is going to involve 45 lateral movement. At 9:30, we're going to do pickups again. At 9:45, we're going to have a leg bear pit, etc. And this is all based off feedback. I mean, like initially I came up with a lot of the material, because I'm a knight and I'm good at fighting and I know what kind of skills we need to build. But as we went on, I was able to be like, hey, what do you guys want to work on? Or, hey, what do you think our deficits are? Or, hey, I've been recording all these videos and posting them and we've been doing video breakdown. It looks like possibly we're all suffering from, we're not targeting offside arm enough. And it looks like there's some leg openings from these videos that we're not utilizing. What do you guys think about a dedicated track of education on leg targeting? And, we would have like a community discussion about it in real time. And we'd be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's put that on the agenda for next week. And we would do that. And so on top of that, every practice we try and take a picture. And that sounds kind of goofy. I've got a sad story to that, but this idea I did not come up with, but a gentleman by the name of Titus, who used to come to the Detroit practice, came out to a practice that I was having in my backyard at my downstate Michigan place. And he had started taking pictures because I think he just had the idea that, hey, what we do is cool and we should get more pictures of this stuff. And what happened was my friend Doji was there and a couple other people, and we got this picture together in my backyard. And then a couple weeks later, Doji unfortunately passed away from a brain aneurysm, and he was only 28 years old. And I realized how much I treasured that picture because I didn't actually have a lot of pictures of us like just as friends with like our arms around each other. I had a lot of pictures of us like at events and armor and doing stuff. But once I had that picture, I realized that these are my friends and I want to get pictures with them and I want to remember these moments. I want to look back on this 10 years from now and I want to be like, yeah, man. And so every week we just kind of come up with some goofy theme and take a picture and we post it. And people love these pictures. People use them as their background photos. People use them as their cover photos. People make memes out of them, all kinds of stuff. It's just, it just goes a long ways to making people feel like they're part of a group because they are part of a group. Take attendance. I take attendance for a couple reasons. I think people feel the validation of like, oh man, I was marked. I was showing up, and then something insidious I kind of do just from like a practice thing is my old practice that I was at, they took attendance based in the order of precedence. And so like if there was a duke there, they would be first. And then, or I'm sorry, if like, His Majesty or Her Majesty were there, they would be first. And then it would be like counts, and then it would be dukes, and then it would be knights, and then it would be, captains, sergeants, unbelts, etc. The way I do it actually is, I take attendance in the order of longest presentation. And so basically the person with the longest streak of attendance is first. And now what's happened is there's a bunch of people that are trying to get their name up on the list. And so they don't miss practice because they don't want to lose their spot, because they're slowly trying to all get to the top of the line or whatever. And so this is kind of an interesting way you can kind of do that. And now it's a joke. And I didn't really even do that on purpose. It just kind of happened that way because every week I would edit the week from last week, and you would delete out names that didn't come and leave names that did. And so organically you kind of developed a process where you had attendance by order of longest presentation. And then the last one is just celebrate wins, man. I mean, we sing happy birthday, we congratulate people on promotions, we help each other on projects, we go out and do all kinds of stuff with each other. It's not just about fighting. It's not just about the SCA, it's about 4th of July barbecues. It's about all kinds of stuff. You retain people who feel like they belong. And so I think you need to go into this, after you recruit somebody, you have to have the idea of intentional community. What am I doing to facilitate a community that people want to be part of? Can we go to the next slide? All right. The next part here, and this applies to everything after the recruitment part, but you got to give people agency. So for fighting, that means you need to give people the means of production. I think it's important to help people feel like they're part of the community and part of the culture as quickly as possible. And so really early on, an easy project for fighting is like you can make half gauntlets. It's 2 pieces of leather, you cut them out and you sew them together. But I always try and get people into their own half gauntlets as soon as possible. And that's just because then they feel like they've built something and they feel like they're building those skills. Not long after that, we ran a series of helmet workshops, and these are 3 of my huskarls now, my squires, but Iron Age, we call them huskarls. The top one is Brenwolf, Magni, and the bottom one is Otan, and those are all the helmets that they built in our workshop. And we just basically kind of set up a process. We're like, okay, man, we're going to have a helmet workshop. We're going to get together once a week and we're going to work on these things. And maybe it'll take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 weeks to get this done. But I can't tell you how happy people are when they build something their own that fits their head exactly, and the pride that they feel and the ownership they feel and the membership they feel as a member of that society. Because now you're not just somebody who likes fighting. Now you're somebody who made your own helmet and you're wearing it around and you're fighting in it and you're telling other people about it. And you develop the confidence to be a craftsperson and to go out and to do those things. And it also gives agency in the way that, we still have these workshops, weekly or biweekly. It used to be that I had to really be on hand to walk everybody through every single step we were going to take. It's hardly like that at all anymore. There's so many people in our group now who know how to do everything that, our newer people can get help from almost anybody. Almost anybody can explain, well, here's how to cut this out. Here's how to bevel this leather. Here's how to set this rivet. Here's how to use the Beverly shear. Here's how to shape this metal. Here's how to get the curvature on the shield boss that you want. Here's how to pad this out, etc. There's a lot of people who have a lot of expertise. And I think you want to give as much of that away as a leader. Because it's true, I'm the community facilitator, but I try not to even think of myself as the leader anymore. I try and think of myself as the community facilitator. I want to give away as much of the leadership to everybody else as I can, because this community isn't about me. The community that we have up here is a community that we all built together. I started it, but we built it together, and where we're going is going to be dictated by what everybody wants to do, not by what I want to do. Can we go to the next slide? On that agency part, early on, I was never much of a meme person because I'm old, I'm 43, but the median age in my group, we kind of have this weird thing. It's me, and my friend Otar, who got me into the society. He's a couple of years older than me. And then we've got one gentleman who's a little bit older than Toby. So there's me, Otar, and Vali, and we're all in like our late 40s to early 50s, or our mid 40s to early 50s. And then our next demographic of age down is we got a couple of people who are like in the 24 to 26, so we've got like, 6 or 7 people who are in that age bracket. And then we've got another age bracket of people who are in like the 19 to 21 range. And, culturally, those people are all very different than I am, just as a function of their age. How they communicate is different and everything. And one of our new guys a couple of years ago, I mean, he's not new now, but we would take all these goofy practice pictures, right, that I'd mentioned earlier. And he wrote me one day, he's like, "Hey man, do you mind if I make a meme out of this?" And I was like, I don't care, man. Go ahead. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. And he just started making like these ridiculous memes, about all kinds of stuff. I mean, some we share internally, some we don't share because they're, whatever. But a lot of them we do share. And, he's kind of, the Kadok, he's the meme lord of North Shield now. I mean, he was actually asked by His Grace Tom, His Majesty at the time, to be the meme lord for the kingdom and to make kingdom memes and to do all kinds of stuff. And a lot of his material is shared far and wide now across the society. But yeah, I think you want to give ownership away so that people feel empowered to communicate to their fullest extent in the community, and I just told the Kadok, I was like, "Look, man, yeah, I don't mind if you make memes. In fact, I want you to make memes. I want you to do whatever you creatively want to do, to make this work." I think there's some text on the bottom. If we can hit the forward button, maybe it'll pop up. Maybe it didn't transfer over when we turned it to Sheets, but, nope, never mind. It just wasn't there. So that's fine. You can stay on this one. Anyway, I just told Kadok that, I encourage you to make as many memes as you can, as you want to. I mean, you don't have to do this, but I appreciate you doing this. Just make sure they're in good taste, so that way I'm kind of still moderating the community aspect, but yeah, I try and give people as much rope as they want to take to run with it so that we can go and do things. I guess the last thing here is this pertains mostly to practice, but not so much to like general SCA stuff. But I do think it's key to retention, and I kind of hit on it earlier, so we'll probably move on fast and just go to questions if people have them. But I think it's important, especially when you're onboarding a lot of new people, to offer a lot of structure. I think a deficit that I experienced in the SCA when I first started and really had trouble with for a lot of years is the standard practice is something you just kind of show up to and like, okay, well, we're just going to fight a little bit and we'll see how it goes. When I get tired, I'll leave. And the reality is it's hard to get incremental improvement in a situation like that until you develop a lot of mastery. But I think it takes a lot of time to develop mastery. And so instead, and this is, I'm just going to be clear and transparent. This was selfish. I'm a knight and I was, a fairly high level fighter where I was at before. It was important to me to get all of the new people that we had leveled up as quickly as we could, into a level of prowess, because frankly, I wanted competitive fights. And so I didn't have any time to screw around and jibber jabber. I mean, I wanted to be teaching like, hip integration and how to throw a jab and pacing and offline movement and 45s. And I wanted to teach everything I could from the very beginning, to these people, because I wanted them to be competitive with me. I wanted, good fights. I live 5 hours away from like the closest other fight practice. And, this is what I've got. And so I was highly motivated to train these people as hard as I could. Not in an overbearing way, but just in a very incremental improvement type methodology. And frankly, it worked. There's, for a new practice, we generally do pretty well, and we generally punch above our weight when we go to other events and stuff for people's time and kit. And that's, I think, because of our approach to it. And I think that again helps a lot with retention. It makes people feel like they're part of the community when they're doing well in that community. And so I think part of it is just a matter of focus and deciding what you're going to focus on. And for us, we still have fun. We still do pickups. Practice is still wonderful and a joyous occasion and the highlight of my week. But we definitely go into it with the idea of like work. Like, I'm here to like pick up this skill this week. This is what we're trying to get better at. And I think that really helps us get there. So I think I got one more slide here and then we can open it up to questions. The the key point here that I really wanted to highlight is outside of like the digital retention and how we can do that, because frankly, the Facebook ads are easy, right? I mean, you can figure that out in 20 minutes. You just set up a business, you tell Facebook you want to buy some ads, and they walk you through it. I mean, they hold your hand through the entire thing, and really it just comes down to figuring out what your keywords are and what you want to target. But the core idea here is what we do is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. This is a long haul that we built here. We built this, during the pandemic because we weren't allowed to fight and we were all outside and stuff. But I basically just decided, I was like, we're just going to build a community center, and so, and I kind of had like this happy confluence of events where we got this really awful storm up here, and like I had over 100 trees on my property fall down. And so I just had all this fallen timber and I had a lot of time on my hands, and so we started working on stuff. But that's part of the amazing part is the best thing to me about the SCA is that joining this society and joining this organization is basically like the ability to get a master's in fine arts, because there's going to be so many people that you run into who have so many high level skills. You can learn about casting or stained glass or brewing or armor production or weaving or felting or brewing or just on and on and on and on. And for the people that we want to target, that really matters. We're looking for creative people who really want to hang out. And, what I have found and what has been so enriching for the retention of people is we just really lean into that. So just try and remember that what we do is incredible, and that for the people that actually are customers for us, when they actually see us, they're going to find it to be incredible too. And just, try not to lose that spark. I think it's important to just stand back and look at it and be like, man, this is badass, and this is something I want to share, and this is something I want to find